Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Let's Be Real. I am Tara.
And I'm Sheri.
And we're here to talk about mental health, some more specific stuff, I think, because we have another new guest in our office today.
Hi.
Welcome. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Dawnchele.
Welcome. How do we know you, Dawnchele?
How do you know me?
Dawnchele has joined my private practice, or our group practice, I'm sorry. But we would love to talk to Dawnchele about coming from an agency perspective to now being in group practice. And we started this podcast initially to be change makers and to talk about the whole idea of how the system is broken in mental health. And
that is how we started this, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's turned into all kinds of stuff since then, mental health related or interpersonal related.
It counts.
Yeah, giving call outs and all that kind of fun stuff. That's what we do. But
let's get back to our roots today.
Yes, we'll get back to our roots today. And Dawnchele's a newly licensed, and so the excitement of getting through that.
Yes.
Yay, congratulations.
Yes, welcome.
Thank
What
you.
a big deal.
Thank you. It is a big deal. And now I feel like, okay, now what?
Right?
Relatable.
Yes.
Absolutely. So tell us what you experienced in being, like, how many years have you been doing this, and agency and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in agency work since I graduated from undergrad back in, this is going to age me, 2006. So in prevention and child welfare, and then continued agency work after grad school as a therapist. So, yeah, lots of experience in agency work.
Oh, yeah. So tell me one of the things that made you want to run from agency work.
I mean, the paperwork, obviously.
What's your least favorite part of agency work, and why is it paperwork?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. It just felt time-consuming, tedious, unnecessary, repetitive. It just felt like it took me away from the reason why I got into the work, to be with the people.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So here you are working, doing your job, and they add one more piece of paper.
Every time.
Right. Yeah. And so let me ask you this, because I've been saying this since I think the beginning of our show, is that did that one more piece of paper help or benefit your client in any manner?
No.
No hesitation. Absolutely not.
I mean, the face said it all. Like, absolutely not. Like,
No.
Okay, so that's one of the things that when I started private practice, that's what I was running from. Like, no more. Stop telling me that all this stuff that's supposed to be like evidence-based and strength-based. You know, I'm all for strengths-based, but evidence-based, I think a lot of times is lacking in evidence of where's the evidence that proves that our clients are doing better from another piece of paper.
Well, evidence-based becomes this really loose term.
Right.
Based on this evidence, I make more money. I do a lot better when you guys fill out this paperwork for our funders. So
Okay, well, there you go.
I
but
feel like
as the
someone's
provider,
stretching. Yeah, someone's stretching that definition.
Absolutely stretching it.
But
right?
yeah, another intervention, another layer of pleasing our funders, pleasing our stakeholders.
Follow the money.
All the money, right?
And so as soon as the agency is celebrating this new relationship, we're sitting in our offices groaning about what that means for our binders and our folders.
Absolutely.
And
Right.
Yeah, and I think for me, I make all my decisions now in group practice about like what we're going to take on. Are we selling our soul for?
Yeah.
You know, like just because somebody's willing to give us money, does that mean we should take it?
Definitely. I feel like I experienced that right out the gate when, I left agency work. I had a project presented to me, and I think I was super excited about it because I was looking at the money, right?
Right.
And then the more I sat with it and thought about the project, I realized it wasn't aligned with the work that I want to do now. So I kind of had to make that difficult decision and say, no, this doesn't fall in line with the kind of work that I want to do right now, and it doesn't feel good. So that's definitely different to be able to say no, which is super nice.
Isn't that nice,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Where they usually just throw all these cases at you and say, you know what, they have to be seen.
Yeah.
good luck. Right?
Oh my gosh, because can I go an entire episode without bringing up TikTok or Reddit?
Probably not.
Hasn't been done yet, but maybe we'll try again next time. There's a creator on TikTok who we'll say will mock like nonprofit CEOs and presidents, and they come in with this like massive pashmina shawl, and they're like sipping their water, having a little snack, and like these mannerisms are. And I've worked with some great agencies. I've worked with some opposite and terrible, horrific, like venomous agencies. Parasitic was the word I was looking for. But I do like
that. Parasitic. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just the mannerisms of like someone being like, oh, yeah, I don't know if I can take on like another case this week. Like I'm already packed. And she'll just be like, see, I think what's really important, and I learned this when I was, in Guatemala last quarter, and I really got to appreciate, and she's like grabbing her shawl, and definitely watch this podcast because I feel like I'm really mimicking this well. Just like, I just feel like you're not appreciating the suck right now. Like there's something to be noticed here.
Yeah, this sucks. That's what I'm noticing.
Right.
But she's just embodying like this level of privilege, and like someone's genuinely coming to them, and a place of complete opposite of privilege, being like, yeah, I can't, like, thank you for letting me work here, I guess, but I'm not up for this. I would like to say no thank you.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, work balance, so important. This is going to be on your case.
Right. You have no choice.
We don't care. Good luck.
This is going to be so good for you.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Enjoy.
Yeah, I'll definitely send you guys that clip once I find it again.
Exactly. Well, tell us about the journey to getting to your license and the fun of that.
Oh, my goodness. Well, what's interesting is that when I was in grad school, I did not want to be a therapist.
A lot of people say that.
I did not set out with the intention of going into clinical work. I was definitely more macro, administrative research. Like, that's what I was interested in. But here I am. So I didn't even start the licensure process until, like, 2 years after I had finished school. But the process to get there, finding a supervisor that you fit with, paying for it, meeting every week, all of the, submitting all the documents, all of that stuff. So
you were working for an agency that didn't cover supervision?
They did not, but they did offer a scholarship where they paid her directly after I'd been there for like 6 months, I think. So eventually it was paid for by the agency, which was nice.
Yeah.
But
that's where, I think that being in an agency at some point allows you to have a lot of understanding of things that you wouldn't have otherwise. Like, like for me specifically, like I wouldn't be able to complain on the hair about that. So that, that's a great benefit for me. But honestly, I've seen clients that I probably would never have seen otherwise.
True.
Plus, which gives me some more insight into some of the clients that I would not expect to see in private practice.
Sure.
So that really opens my horizon to say, hey, look, I can actually work with this same population in a better way, right? In a way that makes more sense. So what's your focus that you want to be able to use your new license towards?
So I am very passionate about perinatal mental health. So I would like to specialize in that area.
Okay.
Really valuable, underserved.
Yes.
Under-recognized community. Can you tell the folks what does that mean, perinatal?
So perinatal period covers pregnancy all the way through the first year after a child's born.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was actually that wide of a span.
Yeah.
It seemed a lot more time constrictive.
Right.
I had perceived it in my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of misperception around those mood disorders, postpartum depression, anxiety, only developing shortly after birth, but it can happen up to a year after you've given birth.
Wow, and you figure all the hormones going on there, the guilt of not being where society says you should be, and your feeling about your child.
Sure.
Right? I remember when I had my first son, and I wanted so badly to be a mom. It took me a long time to get pregnant, and the expectation that I was going to love this thing that just came out of my body and tortured me immediately, and the crying and the overnight and all that kind of stuff. I was like, wow. If I didn't have some kind of understanding of perinatal, I don't know. I don't know what I would have done, but there's a lot of people that don't understand that it's not this picture perfect commercial.
No.
Or
And think about when you're in the position of being a new parent and you have these expectations of how things are going to look, and then they don't look like that, and then you are kind of stuck with no space to be able to share the hard parts of parenting.
That's
right?
So true.
Right.
A lot of shame, a
Yeah.
lot of like really insidious guilt.
Yeah.
Right? Like who's
Yeah.
perpetuating those cycles, and it's not pretty. And we've talked before about how, like when we've talked about parenthood, me opting out of parenthood, and Gabby, a former guest who was talking about her choice to be a single mom by choice, and how society just, forgive me, shits all over mothers.
Yes.
In so many different
It doesn't matter what you do, you're going to get negative feedback.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No matter what. I agree.
So it's disturbing to me that your specific focus is so, like I use the word underserved. It's such a prevalent condition, right?
Yes.
Postpartum anything.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's still like this air of, well, get over it. You got the baby.
You got what you wanted. You wanted
in
this baby,
motherhood.
right?
Like
Right.
this. Tell me this isn't the most beautiful thing you've ever experienced.
No, it's not.
No.
But if you tell me that, then I'm like, oh, why? Like,
Why am I doing this?
yeah, why
right?
are you doing? Like, oh, how offended am I on your child's behalf? Like, gross. We don't need to be doing that.
Yeah. Well, I had worked at Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies. Probably like, I don't know, maybe 6 years before I finally got pregnant. So, so I had that background, but I had the, I'll call them, they're correct, the lactation consultants in my ear. But at that point, I really had thought of them as the boob Nazis, right? And so, because I would see my clients come in and be like, "Oh my God, I've been working with this lady." I'm not calling them all out, but it's just this all or nothing idea of you either have to do one way or something's going to be bad. And that was the time period of the breast is best commercials,
Sure.
and everything is like you're going to ruin your child if
Oh
you
my
don't.
gosh.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, so if this doesn't work out, I'm done. Like, I'm not fighting it. But I mean, I had it worked well for me for the time being that it worked, right? But I just, like, I've seen a lot of my friends and family go through what I call the unhealthy attachment to the boob Nazis and what they do to you. That impression that you have to, or you are going to be a horrible mother.
It adds to the pressure that already exists.
So much pressure.
When you're a new mom, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even, breastfeeding's like a tiny piece of everything that a new parent experiences.
Right.
All of your relationships around you change,
Yeah.
right? Because of this new being that you have to care for. So, yeah, it's just everyone putting pressure, and then you as a new mom are already putting pressure on yourself. So then it compounds.
Absolutely.
Right, and the change it has in your relationships, whether you're married or not married,
Friendships. Relationships with your parents. We see a lot of stuff coming up when now I'm a parent and now I'm reflecting on the childhood I had, what happened, what's my relationship with my mom, what's my relationship with my dad, how did they parent me, what do I want to do differently? All of those things start to kind of bubble up when you're a new parent.
all those things of, well, when I had you, we did this, and everything from which way we put the baby down to sleep versus
What they wear. Just all the unsolicited advice literally starts flooding, and you're like, did I ask you for that?
Right.
No.
And then now when I want it and I need it, I'm disgusted because I'm like, I didn't, right? So it's that, where do I get the good advice? Where do I get the, not necessarily good, but the idea of where do I get the comforted, helpful advice? And I'm surprised by how many people say, I didn't realize other people suffer or deal with this too. So
Yeah. And a big part of supporting new parents is helping them find their supports, right? The people that are going to encourage them to do what's best for them and their child and their situation and circumstances. Yeah, it's a big piece of it.
That makes a lot
Right.
of sense.
It really does take a village. I mean, honestly, right? So that's what we've been saying, like, for how many years now, but how many times we say, shut up, I don't want your help, right? But we really do. We just don't want it to make us feel bad about what we're doing. But we do need
Absolutely.
people to help and keep us accountable and help each other and all that. So
Well, we have several roles in existence that work really well when they work well.
right.
And then adding you to a team of somebody experiencing parenthood and pregnancy and giving birth is monumental.
Yeah.
But you want to have the right people in your team.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So if you're gonna have a lactation specialist, making sure they're not a boob Nazi.
Exactly.
Right.
We don't want the
Right.
boob Nazis.
Just a term I'm gonna think about way too many times for the next week.
Right.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm not.
I
please
know
don't
that you
be.
probably leave this room on many occasions saying, "Oh my God, what Sheri said today."
No, that's a valuable chunk. I'm gonna write
Yeah.
that one
Okay,
down in
good.
I
my
can
meditation.
visualize it. I
You
can
can visual
visualize
it.
it.
Okay, good.
Well, yes, I can absolutely. Like, there's plenty of entertainment avenues. There's films and movies that talk about these experiences, and it sounds like
Right.
the dramatic ones aren't getting them wrong.
Absolutely. I don't think they are at all, right?
No.
There's one, and I can't remember, but Kevin Hart plays the dad. The wife had passed away, and he has to raise his child by himself, and he's desperate for information, and he tries to get in with a group of moms that are meeting, and it's a new mothers group, and he's like, I just can't get this thing to sleep, you know, and he just wants, and it's a true story of this man, but the whole stigma of the man coming into the group, this is supposed to be moms. He's like, but there is no mom, and I need help, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just about the mom by herself, right? Or the mom, it's the couple too.
Sure.
So is that part of your focus as well, or would you like that to be, or is it more about the mood part?
I mean, I would definitely agree that fathers also need the support, and they're often left out of the conversation around, parenthood. Not necessarily my preferred client, but I do agree that there, needs to be more resources out there for dads, for sure.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can imagine that social component would be really beneficial.
Right, for other dads who are, going through it, trying to figure out why your wife is somewhat seemed to go crazy, and now taking attention from you to this baby, and
Sure.
like a lot of different things that go on there with the dads. I mean, probably every one of my friends who have had kids have said the same thing, where their husbands were jealous, or lack of a better word, right? But being able to find that now they're not the center of their world.
Is that those role transitions? Yeah.
Yeah.
The relationships that shift.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a
Yeah.
huge shift,
The baby
right?
doesn't know how to compromise.
Right. There is no compromise with a baby. Let's be clear.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
I agree.
Little
yeah.
kings and queens, they take over. Yeah, that's their kingdom.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm curious with perinatal care. I said that right.
Yeah.
For some reason it was swimming in my head. I was like, don't say it wrong. In perinatal mental health care, is there a standard of like skills-based training and group therapy and individual therapy, or is it still being developed, or are you developing it? Tell me.
I mean, there are definitely some resources out there, and I think the consensus is, it's a combination of things, and it's specific to the individual. So it's going to look different for everybody, but that could include medication, it could include individual therapy, it could include support groups, it could include a lactation consultant, a postpartum doula, kind of a collaborative approach. But I think it's up to the individual to see what works, for sure.
Good.
Right.
Yeah,
what they're comfortable with. Yeah.
self-advocacy and those kinds of those things.
Yeah,
are
and being
really
able
helpful.
to know what those resources are is
Yes.
huge, right?
Yes.
Like I would have never known that there was an option of a baby nurse to come to your house. Or,
Right?
I had heard of a doula, but I had people in my life that I had too many people in my delivery room, but like somebody that could come afterward and help
Yeah.
me with stuff. I just, other than the lactation consultant.
Right.
Other than that person, which I didn't need, my sister needed her, and that was a lot. And I don't know how she handled that one, but that's where the Nazi came out. But the idea of somebody just that I could connect with just about that, other than my, the pediatrician or the OB. So somebody that's there just for that
just
component.
for the support of the mom. And so over the last 2 days, I was actually in doula training. I just started.
How exciting.
So I just spent the last 2 days talking about birth and pregnancy and all the things. And my mind was blown because I didn't even realize that having a doula was an option during my pregnancy, right? And so it's, I think, just the awareness of these resources. So I think that's a big part of, any client that I work with, bringing that component to sharing resources and information with them.
Definitely. Right. And getting accurate information.
Yes.
We talked about misinformation for a second earlier, because I was very misinformed. When I heard about doulas before, I have a cousin who's now a doula, and she's also has a background in psychology and mental health as well. So she went into that side with a very similar mindset, I think, to you. And when I hear doula, I'm like, okay, so hippie births, no doctors, no nurses. And that's not at all what the reality is. When we talk about a team, that's an addition to your team.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take away from anybody's role.
No, definitely not.
Right. It doesn't necessarily mean a birthing center or in your living room, right?
No.
Yeah.
Right. But I definitely had that very, because it was such a mystery to me, I just filled in the blanks with oh, that's over there, something really crunchy and granola. I don't understand what that is.
Right.
But just talk about cognitive distortions of well, I don't know what that is, and for me personally, I don't have to know, so we'll just let that go be. But that obviously is a potentially really damaging stereotype.
Right. Well, I mean, if you went around and told everybody that's pregnant that was the case, then yes. But for you, that's okay. You can.
Yeah, exactly.
You can know it
visualize it that way.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I mean, I have clients that have families or are exploring getting pregnant, either now or in the future, and I don't need to have those kinds of kinds of beliefs.
Exactly.
This is good for my.
Yeah, thank you for. So tell us, what does a doula do? So we cannot say the wrong thing.
Right. So, and I was actually got a lot of information throughout this training. I didn't realize there are so many different types of doulas, right?
Okay.
So you can be just simply a birth doula, and that just supports mom during pregnancy leading up to the birth. You're going to come up with a birth plan, and you're essentially physical and emotional support for mom.
Okay.
And so you could also be a postpartum doula. So once I'm done with all of the things, I'll be certified as a birth and postpartum doula. So then you can also support the mom after the pregnancy. And that involves coming up with a postpartum plan, what that looks like, what does care look like, just even logistics, how is she going to get sleep, who's going to cook meals, those kinds of things. So kind of that planning and preparation, and then showing up literally emotionally for mom, holding space for her in whatever way she needs, and figuring out the logistics and figuring out who's on her team and pulling them together and kind of helping mom in whatever way she decides.
Well, we live in a town where people come from everywhere, right? And we've talked about our beautiful town on a regular basis, and I say that for real, right? But we've talked about it in other crazy ways, right? That people come here literally not knowing anybody. Come here, you go to a beautiful hospital to give birth to your child, and go home, and boom, you're all by yourself. Right? And so getting the word out that you don't have to be alone. I can help you figure out these people. I can help you find that's huge.
Yeah, definitely.
That's super valuable.
Yeah,
talking about social support, I can only imagine how terrifying that would be. Right. Your life is thrown upside down.
Right.
Even though you're expecting every consequence that comes from it, right? Every outcome, but then living it can be something completely different.
Right. Nobody can prepare you for the idea of no sleep, right?
No.
I think that
it's a really good way to put that.
You say, right, it's one thing when you're in college and you had to stay up all night for a test, but I guarantee you took your test and you went and you took your test, you came home, you went to sleep, right? Or you did whatever, or you could run on 12 Red Bulls and you were fine, right? But having someone depending upon you and literally not being able to function on their own without you, and not having any sleep, and it's for, who knows how many women by yourself, right? Or husband's gone back to work, or there's no other support there. Sleep deprivation is real.
Oh,
right?
I say real. They use sleep deprivation as a torture tactic.
Exactly.
Like literally. So how could you show up in any other way if you aren't sleeping, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't. And that's where I think that like for people who don't work with that population, understanding that, like, I've had clients who have had major anxiety or major PTSD, even bipolar, and then find out that they're pregnant and be like, and we're like, whoa, we have to have a plan here, right? Of the idea of, okay, so, especially with PTSD, depending upon what it was from, knowing that you're at and tell me if I'm wrong by saying this, I've always assumed that you're at a higher risk.
You are.
Okay.
Yes, that is one of the risk factors, is if you already have, a mental health diagnosis or condition,
Right. So, you're already over alert, and then all of this, you may now be under alert, and that's even, they're both dangerous in their own right, but understanding all of that. And I don't know that everybody puts those together, right? Which is saying, oh, you're going to have this baby and everything's going to be good, right? So,
oh gosh, yeah, like the lack of anxiety.
We'll get you back on your meds, and we'll be good, right?
And we need something to fire back.
Yeah,
we need to respond.
Yes,
absolutely.
Exactly. Okay.
What do you see as the most? I don't know. I want to cater to your macro and research brain as well. I feel like this is a really good niche for you because there is so much more to explore and understand. I could definitely get on my pedestal for women's health, which somehow includes pregnancy, which is as much as we shit on women, it's the one thing like that everyone can understand and value about the existence of us.
We keep the world going.
That's right. Exactly.
But it's still not medically understood in all of the ways that we deserve for it to be understood. So
for sure,
catering, like, I'm really curious as to, like, I always ask this I think from every guest, like, what direction are we going in? What's next? What do you want to explore within this realm?
I think I'm interested in exploring collaborating with others that are in this work and building a network of people that have this common understanding of how important, this population is. I'm actually in partnership with a nonprofit agency right now where they create postpartum care packages for women and send them out. And they are in the process of trying to build what they call a care team. So a team of mental health professionals, doulas, lactation consultants, just the kind of place where a mom could go and she would have all the information and resources available to her. So, and they are also doing some other research projects that I am trying to jump on. So
awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So I think the direction I would like to go just in terms of research would be around, understanding why the maternal mortality rates for Black women is so awful in this country. Why is there such this disparity? And I think we know, but then it's like, how do we move the needle?
Yeah.
How do we change that?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's embarrassing for our
It is
country
embarrassing.
It really
to have
is.
that level. Those numbers are something we absolutely should be more ashamed of.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's awful that
we're not a third world country.
Exactly.
We shouldn't be behaving like one. Agreed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's awful that Black women are literally scared when they find out that they are pregnant. Right? They're scared to go to the hospital, talk to providers. That's not the kind of relationship you need to have with your provider when you're about to give birth.
Yeah.
Right. And what are your thoughts? And I know this could get onto a whole, I don't know, this is what we're here for, right? But, I mean, we're in a state where I don't know if I think it's just recently been determined that we can uphold this 6 weeks ban of abortion, which no woman usually knows she's pregnant before 6 weeks. So that's irrelevant, right? So we're basically just saying that it's illegal across the board.
Getting as close to an absolute ban as we can.
Right, exactly. So now we're, if we think of people in a bubble, right, in the Florida bubble where where that would be their only opportunity. Now we have a whole group of women that may or may not have had, may or may not have continued with a pregnancy that now are going to have to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, the bubble is, people can go still cross lines. We have other options.
That requires a
sneaky
level
things.
of privilege, though,
Of
right?
course, right? So that's
So-
why I'm saying, like, when I say bubble, right,
Yeah.
like, I say that as not a protective factor, but a hold-in, right? Like a restriction, thank you. So when you think of that, when you were talking about the places that can give those care packages, or those places that they're other than, let's say, your typical pregnancy resource center, which is somebody who's trying to force them to keep a baby
Right.
that they may or may not be ready for. And so that's usually tied in with a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Shame, right? So, or coercion of a religious front usually, right? So, what I'm looking at is that same group of people who now have made a decision that they may or may not made before, and so all that other guilt and feeling that comes along with it. So, it's going to be more and more of that across the country as this continues to change.
Yes,
So-
definitely.
Yeah, access to care, and certainly the intersectionality of identities and limits to care. So
Right.
when you bring up Black women and pregnant Black women and their fears and their concerns, which are very real. Serena Williams almost died giving birth.
Right.
And if she's a victim to these circumstances, then
With the amount of money and power and privilege, right?
That's what's mind-blowing, is that in every other demographic, your education and income actually influences your outcomes, right? Not for Black women.
Right. Because there's this, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a, like, even without excluding pregnancy, Black women's pain is misunderstood.
Yeah.
Undervalued isn't quite the word I'm looking for.
It's
minimized.
Yes, and there was this misrepresentation, I believe, in some medical book a very long time ago that basically said Black women don't feel pain.
And that's still
And it's still-
perpetuated in our
and it's
offices today.
Correct.
Oh,
Yes.
Wow. So if I punch you in the face right now, you wouldn't feel it?
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
this book tells us.
That's
Right.
the thing is
And
that's
so
the
now
type
this
of stuff,
is a
right?
bias that sits with medical professionals
Right,
when
and
they
that's
encounter
ridiculous.
Black women.
It's
I think
so
that's terrible. Yeah.
disturbing.
It really is.
Absolutely. See, this is, when we were talking the other day in the office, so I'm saying this, off of, nobody else knows our conversation, but, the idea of, and I think we were talking in one of our episodes too, about understanding about diversity and why the diversity has not been taught well, right? Instead of just saying you need to know that this exists, that a bias exists. Okay, but give me some more understanding, right? Exactly, like this. Where this bias not bias, but this misinformation came from, and why are we still running on it?
Right.
That's the type of information that we need. That doesn't numb people out to the differences,
Sure.
right? So thank you for sharing that piece with us, because that's the kind of stuff that we need to understand, right? When we're in care and other people who are in care, and why people make mistakes as to why they think something's happening, right?
Right.
Or isn't happening.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Exactly. I greatly appreciate that level of research and care that you're bringing. It's incredibly, I've used the word valued I don't know how many times today. Let me use it a few more times.
Thank you.
I have, I was an RA in college, and one of my residents, she's graduating from med school in the state of Michigan soon, and I'm flying up there for her grad party. 'Cause I haven't been back to Michigan since I graduated. However many years that was, we're not counting. And she is a Black woman going into Black healthcare, and that's also a pinnacle for her. It very much affects her, obviously, and
Yeah.
this is, it doesn't take Black women to care.
No.
We all care
Absolutely.
about all of our health. These outcomes.
We just have to understand more, and right, if we have some more research that is actually based on wanting to know why, as opposed to negating,
Right.
Exactly.
right? I think so much of it has become a negate as opposed to I really want to know why, right? Why, like,
I see a defensive,ness, like with the Black Lives Matter movement. The defensiveness was, well, what about my life? Be like, bro,
Well, but that's
this
not the
isn't-
point.
That's not the conversation we're having right now, right?
It's
Yeah,
not, yeah.
but that's not the point, right? The
Right.
point is that we want to know more. I'm not saying to you that's not
No,
the point,
of
right?
course.
Yeah,
No, but these outcomes affect all of us.
right.
They
exactly.
absolutely do. The health of our country affects the health of my neighbors, health of my brothers, health of my
Right.
sisters.
Right.
I need you to be well so we can be well.
Right.
Exactly. Agreed.
And that shouldn't be such a hard concept, but somehow it brings
It
like this
shouldn't be.
defensiveness of somehow caring for this pregnant black woman takes away from this pregnant white woman, and that's not at all how it works.
No, because you're figuring that most research that's done on certain things is done for a specific population, right?
Right.
And the sampling is never good enough, and so therefore we're only looking at why this happens to this population, and if we're not looking to the other, then we're totally again negating that population and saying we don't care. And that's not how it should be happening, right? We have to take care of all of us and figure out all of us how that's the truth of saying we all matter by taking care of that individual group of people who are having a hard time, right? If I don't take care of that group, then that means I don't know. I'll just keep going in a circle. So
the why matters, right?
The why matters.
The why
yes.
matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
To understand that book being published, I've heard about this book, it was a long time ago.
And I've heard, and this may or may not be accurate, but I think I heard that there is some information that still exists in some of these medical textbooks that still kind of state that. And so I wonder, like, is there a plan to remove that? Why are we still perpetuating this?
right.
So, yeah.
This is something we need to bring to a roundtable discussion. I definitely
Absolutely.
want to bring this collaboration out and explore these whys so we can dig at them, we can change them, we can
Yeah.
pick at them, and we can bring confusion to ask the right questions,
Yes.
to answer
Exactly.
them, to
Yeah.
solve something.
Right.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that I would love to be able to go to whatever the next level is. It's just how do you get there and people listen to you? Do you know what I mean? Like going and sitting in front of a group of people who make the changes and being a part of the research and then going and doing something with the research. That's the important piece. Like, how do we get to that level? That's where I'm like standing on this line and I'd like to jump over it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So if you're doing the research already, if you're already part of this and you just happen to be listening today, give us some information. How do we get involved?
Get in here. Yeah. We
So,
Call
want
to action.
There you
call
go.
to action,
That's
yes.
right.
We
right.
want the macro work. We want the research. We want the
Yes.
literature review. We want all of that.
We don't want the TikTok version. We want the real version. Come talk to us about that. Yeah.
If you made a TikTok, please send the
Send the-
reference
yes.
list with it.
Right. Where are your resources?
Right.
We just need
exactly.
that. Just go ahead and publish that on another slide for us.
There you go. Exactly.
Well, Dawnchele, thank you so much for stopping by and having this much-deserved conversation with us.
Thank you
and
for
sharing your
having
work.
me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
If you want to connect with others or if you want to open that up, how can listeners find you, connect with you, if you want to open that up?
I am not on social media.
Good girl. Yes. Well,
I
she
do not
said,
want-
don't call
I
me.
do not want to be found.
Well, you can always be found through Inspire
Yes.
Mental Health. Okay.
Yeah.
So inspirementalhealthservices.org, and Dawnchele's pictures on there, her bio's on there. If you want to come see her, you can always call Casey and make an appointment with her. Or even just, call through there and pick her brain and see, what kind of research project you would like her to be on. I'll be happy to be her portal.
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely. But otherwise, don't go looking for her.
No.
She said she doesn't want to be. She doesn't want to be
good for
contacted.
you, though. I really, I love that.
There's no subtext to this.
No.
Like, people who don't want to be found are not to be found.
Exactly.
I like that.
Amen.
I like
Amen.
that. Boundaries.
Yes. If you're blocked, stay blocked. Right? Okay.
And then for us, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
So we want to be bothered. We want the DMs. We want the reach out. So let's be real, Sheri and Tara on all of our platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow the show. Downloads. That's how we get more listeners, more viewers.
Yeah.
Get our message out there. If this really resonated with you, my call to action is send it to 5 people. I'll send you a couple bucks on Venmo, if you can prove it.
Yeah. Prove it. Show us that where you
Show
forwarded
us
it.
the screenshot. write a little review on our Spotify and Apple.
Yeah, there you go.
And we keep doing this for y'all, so keep showing us the love.
All right.
Thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Hopefully this won't be our last conversation.
I hope not.
Definitely not.
All right, and we will catch y'all next time.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.